The new season of Total Drama is on its way, and I, like many others, am very excited. A lot of us have also made several predictions or theories for this new Total Drama season, but there's one theory that I thought up that caught my attention. What if the new Total Drama season takes place in a different universe? This theory crossed my mind the other day, and I thought I should make a video about it. And with all the introduction stuff out of the way, let's get into the video. So, for me to make this theory seem logical, first I need to address the timeline of Total Drama up until this point. So, a lot of us wonder if previous Total Drama characters are gonna return on the show. We all have certain favorites, and we want to see them return to have another chance to win this season. But if the Total Drama timeline is consistent, that's not gonna be possible, and here's why. So the main premise of Total Drama is teen drama. Sure, adults have appeared on the Redonkulous Race, but in the Total Drama universe, the Redonkulous Race is a completely different show that is just unrelated to Total Drama as a show in the same universe. It's kinda weird, but you get it, I hope. So teen drama. You need to be a teenager to compete. Makes sense. But aren't the old characters teenagers? They can just return, right? Well, the new season makes that impossible. We don't know much about the new season, but we do have some info. For an example, we know that there will be a lot of TikToking and drag racing. Honestly, saying that just makes me vomit. And there will be a lot of diversity as we saw in the new cast. So that makes me think that the new season will take place somewhere around 2020s, presumably 2023 since that's when the series is gonna be released. And then we can also assume that the first season of Total Drama ever, Total Drama Island, took place in 2007 since that's when the show released. And if I calculated everything correctly, which I totally did because I totally calculated this thing because I care about it, then Total Drama Action would take place in 2007, Total Drama World Tour in 2008, Total Drama Revenge of the Island 2008, Total Drama All-Stars 2009, as well as Pack 2 Island, and Total Drama The Redonkulous Race would be in 2010. And at the beginning of Total Drama Island, all of the contestants were 16 years old, which at the end of the Redonkulous Race would make them all 19 years old. And now, if we jump to the current season, that would make them all 32 years old. And I mean, if you ask me, they should have kids at this point. They're not teenagers. So this pretty much proves that if the new series is not based in a new universe, we'll probably never see our favorite characters compete again. But this still does not prove that the series will be based in a new universe. But we have to look at Chris and Chef. At the beginning of the new season, Chris would be 45, which is not that big of an age for a TV show host, but in the pictures, Chris hasn't aged at all. I mean, at all. He looks the same. So, that's a bit strange. And then we have Chef, who's just not wearing his regular outfit and just has a complete new design. This could just be a redesign, but it makes you think. Another piece of info that we have is that the new season name is Total Drama Island, which makes no sense because the first season was called Total Drama Island. They're also gonna compete on Camp Wawanakwa, which sunk in All-Stars. And yeah, with the season name being the same as the first season, we can assume that the newest season will take place in a new timeline. A big reason why I thought of this theory is the new character designs. They all look great, and I can't wait to meet the new characters, but they all seem really similar to older characters. So this can also prove that the series takes a place in a new timeline, with old characters reborn into new characters. And now let's try to figure out which new contestant represents the old contestant. This will be a bit strange to figure out, but the main thing that's gonna help us is obviously the designs. Names, races, and genders could help, but they don't have to. For an example, a character that was originally white and male could be black and female in the new universe. But the main thing that is really gonna help us is obviously the head shapes, eye color, all that stuff. And so yeah, let's dive in. First up, we have Bowie, and Bowie honestly reminds me of Leonard a lot, especially because of the face. He has very similar facial features as Leonard, so yeah, I would say that Bowie is a Leonard rep from the new universe. Next up is Caleb, and Caleb reminds me of Ryan a lot. They're both muscular, they're black, and they wear similar colors. So yeah, if you ask me, Caleb would be the Ryan of the new universe. Next up is Damien, and here's where it gets tricky, because one character could represent more than one character, and I think that Damien represents both Lightning and Brody. He has very similar design features like Brody, but there's just something that reminds me of Lightning when I look at him. And yeah, I would say that he represents both Lightning and Brody. Next up is Julia, and Julia looks very similar to Blanley, but I think she could also represent Bridget in a way. She kind of looks like a chill vegan surfer girl, just like Bridget. But yeah, she's so similar to Blanley. I mean, come on, man. Next up is Scary Girl, and a lot of people theorize that Dawn may be Scary Girl just in disguise, and that's why she's named Scary Girl. She does not want to reveal that she's Dawn, but I just think that if the new universe is true, then Dawn would be Scary Girl. I mean, Scary Girl would be Dawn. They just look very similar with obvious changes. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Next up, we have MK. Now, MK reminds me of three characters. The sisters from the Redonkulous race, and Ezekiel. Ezekiel mostly because of the hat, the beanie, but the sisters because, I mean, she's kind of, she's Asian, and she also wears similar colors as the sisters. She mostly reminds me of Kitty, but then I would say that she's kind of a mixture between Kitty and Ezekiel. Next up is Wayne, and if you ask me, he honestly does not really look like any of the older characters. Maybe Junior, and here's why I think he actually represents Junior. His name is Wayne, which is a very similar name to Dwayne, and as I said, names could help us in this. Plus, Junior's real name is not Junior, it's Dwayne Jr., but we just refer to him as Junior so we don't mix him up with his dad. So yeah, Wayne would be Junior because, he has the baseball cap, he has everything, Next up is Nichelle, and Nichelle honestly does not really remind me of any of the characters. I think she kind of looks like Sierra and Stephanie, kind of, so maybe it's them, but I'm honestly not sure. If I had to guess, I would say Stephanie and Sierra, but yeah, that's just my guess. Next up, we have Priya, and Priya honestly reminds me of Mike a lot. She has similar skin tone, she has similar colors as him, and yeah, I would say that Priya would be a female Mike. Next up is Z. Z at first did not remind me of anyone, but then I looked at him and he honestly kind of reminds me of Rock. He has the long hair, he has something on his head, it kind of works. At first I thought Courtney maybe, but no, definitely Rock. Yeah. Next up is Chase. Chase looks pretty cool, and he honestly reminds me of Dave the most, just because of his eyes, which are very similar to Dave's, and his skin tone is also very similar to Dave's. And yeah, the hair could represent Mike, but Priya already kind of represents Mike, so, Next up is Ripper, and Ripper is 100% Noah. He has the same hairstyle, the same light skin stare, and you can't convince me otherwise. He is Noah. Next up is Millie, and Millie reminds me of Lashana the most. I mean, they're both thick, they're both black. I don't know what to say. I think Millie represents Lashana. Next up is Axel, and Axel represents Ava a lot. They're both muscular girls that can take care of themselves. Plus, she also reminds me of Brick because of the whole military thing, which, Brick is known for. Next up is Emma, and I'm really confused with Emma. I think she could be, the Emma from the Redonkulous race just because of the name, but then she kind of reminds me of Sugar a little bit, so she could be a mixture between these two, or she could just have no relation to Emma at all. But I just think it's so weird that they chose the name Emma when we already have an Emma. Whatever. I mean, it's still cool. And lastly, we have Raj, and to be honest, he was the hardest one to figure out. I think he is a mixture between DJ and Lorenzo. You know, he kind of has the DJ posture and everything, his muscularity, and he just gives off a Lorenzo vibe. I don't know, they kind of give me the same vibes. So yeah, that would be Raj. And so yeah, this was my theory on why I think the new Total Drama season is based in a new timeline. Well, this was my first video ever. I'm probably gonna look back at it and cringe a lot, but hey, I had fun making it, so it doesn't really matter. My name's Orange Slime, and see you all in the next video or whatever.
Also subscribe. That would be like really cool if you subscribe to this channel right now. You would like that would be so cool. Like, yeah.